Just like yesterday, there is a new king in the Big 12 Conference, but this time we're talking quarterbacks.
Welcome on in, everybody, to the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. I am, of course, Damon Dog. That's Kevo Posts, and we are the AZ Wildcats podcast, coming to you live from PHNX HQ Trace here in lovely, beautiful downtown Phoenix. Kevin, how are we living on a Tuesday, my friend?
Ordinarily, I have no problem with the way you introduced this show today, Damon, because this is the AZ Wildcats podcast. We do discuss Big 12 sports, more specifically Arizona, of the University of Arizona, Wildcats sports and stuff like that. The U of A. But today I wanted to lead the show off by saying we are coming to you live from HQ3 on planet Mercury. Because we need a big Phoenix Mercury dub tonight. That's how I'm feeling, Damon. That's why I'm wearing the hat. You see it. Chat sees it. We're repping because we need a big dub from the Merc tonight.
And to that point, Kevin, make sure that you guys are supporting the PHNX Mercury show. Erica, Steven, Kevin, they do great work over there. We got a post-game show tonight. Erica, you guys all know her from her appearances here on the AZ Wildcats podcast. Basically like the third member of this program, and she's always supporting us, so we need to do the same and support her. Even if the Merc isn't necessarily your thing, tune in, hit the show, say what's up, Erica, leave a like. That helps all the same, Kevin. So everybody, appreciate everybody for being here. Leave a like on this video if you're here already. But as Kevin teased off the top, we're going to be talking about our Big 12 quarterback power rankings. Lots of movement this week, Kevin. And I feel like week 3 was really almost a season-defining week for a lot of programs and teams and these players in particular. And now, we're starting to see, the C part a little bit, and the answers are becoming a little bit more clear.
Yeah, it's the reason why we do these quarterback rankings bi-weekly, right? I was talking to some of our friends over at DNVR, and we're going to get to their quarterback situation a little bit later in this pod. But I was talking to them about how, we don't do these Big 12 quarterback rankings weekly because it's hard to judge quarterback play week to week, right? You're going to find yourself being far too reactive. But I think when you have 2 games or 2 weeks of content to really sift through and film to sift through, I think it makes it a lot easier to rank these quarterbacks, bi-weekly. And like you said, over the last 2 weeks, you have had a lot of really defining performances. And I think a lot of performances that by the end of the year, we'll be looking back and saying, yeah, we knew that one wasn't necessarily real in a good or bad sense, right? I think you could look at Sam Leavitt, for example, his bad performances early in the year. That's not the quarterback he is on a true level, right? He might be somewhere between who you think he is and what he played to begin the year, but he's not that guy to begin the year. I think Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robertson, they're going to have some ups and downs this year, but those are the 2 guys right now at the top. And so, like you said, I think every couple of weeks we're going to have a little bit more clarity with the quarterback situation, but there is a lot of movement going on this week.
Yeah, there really is. And without further ado, because we do have our guy, Justin Spears, who will be joining us directly after the Arizona football press conferences that are going on. We're going to hear everything that the coordinators and players had to say today from our guy, Justin Spears, but we don't want to waste any of his time, so we want to get into our Big 12 quarterback power rankings. Kevin, I guess I'm looking at it right now, and I can't believe we did the same thing we did yesterday. Just a couple of just rascals who are going to just unleash all 16 of their quarterback power rankings on the same graphic.
No.
Oh, you didn't this time.
I did it properly. I have your bottom 4 right here.
And that's why, and that's why you're in charge of doing the graphics today, because my dumbass wasn't gonna do that necessarily, Kevin. I would have just done all of them on the same one. And that's why you're the GOAT. That's why you're my GOAT.
I appreciate that, Damon. But yeah, I do have our bottom 4 right here. Which school does that? Is that Colorado that does that?
Yeah, that's Sco Buffs.
Okay, yeah, that's actually kind of a cool. I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. But anyway, we do have our bottom 4, Damon. You're gonna lead us off here. What do you got?
Yeah, bottom of this list is Zane Flores, and I think that goes without saying. Zane Flores, you still don't look like a Zane Flores. You still don't play like a Zane Flores because that's a way too cool of a name for you to have 0 touchdowns still on the season. You lost to Tulsa. You belong in the last spot. Nico Marchiol, Arizona high school football legend, Hamilton legend, teammate of many Arizona Wildcats in high school. Takes a big L to Kansas and looks pretty bad in the process. I got Brendan Sorsby down here at 14. I don't know that he's necessarily like a bad quarterback, Kevin. I just haven't been impressed by Brendan Sorsby. His best game came against Bowling Green. He looked terrible in his hardest game this season against Nebraska, where he threw for less than 100 yards. And then Taven Jackson, I'm not super high on. I know it says that he's moved down. I think that's more of a factor of something else that you'll see here in a second, more than me being like, Taven Jackson sucks. But big win against North Carolina, and I think he's maybe not like lighting the world on fire in the process. Lots of like 230-yard performances somewhere in there, but he's taking care of the football. He's been efficient, and I think you have to give him his plaudits for that. So those are my bottom 4, Kevin.
I agree largely with what you had to say with the bottom 4 here. Here are my bottom 4. I have Zane Flores, Nico Marchiol, and Taven Jackson. Now, I don't dislike Taven Jackson. I think I've been open about that on this podcast. Like, his stats leave a lot to be desired, but he's not losing UCF these games. He's a part of why they're winning these games. And I think him being so low on the Big 12 list, I think it's 2 things. I think, one, he does not have the most individual skill of any quarterback in this conference. So he's a good, decent quarterback for UCF, not like a program-altering quarterback. And I think the Big 12 is so strong with its quarterbacks that it makes it look a lot worse for Taven Jackson than maybe it really is. And another couple big games here for UCF coming up in terms of proving that they deserve to be undefeated right now. Coming in at number 13 is Bear Bachmeier. And I think Bear Bachmeier mostly has moved down, as Damon alluded to, because there are so many other quarterbacks moving above him that he just kind of got bumped down a little bit. But I still believe in the true freshman Bear Bachmeier to be a good quarterback for BYU. I don't think he's shown anything as of yet that gives you any reason to be like, that kid's going to be special, right? But I do think he's been fine so far, and kind of like Taven Jackson in a lot of ways. Excuse me. He's low on this list just because he hasn't shown the special level of talent that some of these top-end quarterbacks have shown, Damon.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I hear you there. And moving kind of into my next 4 here, Kevin, I have Bear Bachmeier moving up because I believe I had him at 14 in my last list, and I'm moving him up to 12. And I hear what you're saying, but I also have been a little bit more impressed by what I've seen from Bear Bachmeier recently. In particular, this last game against East Carolina, that's a decent team. I mean, I know East Carolina is not like a good team, and I know that BYU, in very BYU-like fashion that they have all 2025, has very much like, kind of just dominated and not really left it up to chance, not really like put the ball in their quarterback's hands. But he went 18 of 25 in that game, 246 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, 26 yards on the ground, a rushing touchdown, like 2 touchdowns, 0 turnovers, 250 yards passing, 72% completion percentage. Like, I think that's the best game of Bear Bachmeier's career thus far. I think he's more talented than a lot of these quarterbacks and will be a better college football player than a lot of these guys that are lower on the list. And so I feel like maybe we're starting to see him kind of round into form a little bit more. And not to say that he's like going to end up a top half Big 12 quarterback in his true freshman season here in 2025. I don't think that, but I do think that, like talent oftentimes kind of can just shine through, and Bear Bachmeier, I think, is just more talented than a lot of these guys. And East Carolina, like they were in a good game versus NC State. They barely lost. They only lost by 7. Like they're pretty solid team. They beat Coastal Carolina by like 35 points or something. Like that's not a terrible team, and Bear Bachmeier looked good playing them.
He has looked good, and I do agree with your point specifically that Bear Bachmeier can be a really good quarterback for BYU. I think especially with the infrastructure around him, like that is a good program that's going to be putting together good rosters. I don't think you're going to have a situation where Bear Bachmeier at any time during his duration at BYU where he's like left on an island where it's like, oh, he just needs support and he needs help around him. That's not going to be the case with a team like BYU. Moving into my I guess second half of the second half.
I didn't really talk about the other.
Oh, true. You didn't. That was just the Bear Bachmeier show, actually.
Correct.
You're right. Get back to your list.
It's very similar to what yours is. I got Avery Johnson on there. I believe that should have said going down from one spot, not going up. but that's okay. He's down by one spot. Not that big of a deal. Like he's just I think Avery Johnson has been not the problem with Kansas State this year. Kansas State, by the way, favored by 6.5 over UCF, which I think is a really interesting line, Kevin, especially for all the ASU fans who have been trying to tell me that Kansas State is the single worst team that's ever been fielded on a football field after Arizona beat them. I know they had some bad losses before that, but like Anthony Totri has them last in his power rankings, for example. I'm sorry, there's no world where Oklahoma State is not last in the power rankings. Just none. Like you can't see those two seasons so far and in my opinion say Kansas State is a worse team. And we're going to see what how bad or good Kansas State is against UCF, right? Who's been better than expected, but Caden Salter wasn't, in the rankings last week because I believe Staub was in the rankings, and I had him 13. That seemed right. That was a good ranking by me on the 13. I think Caden Salter's by far their best quarterback right now. He's pretty good. I genuinely think Caden Salter's a pretty good quarterback. He should start the entire rest of the year. And then Connor Weigman, not the biggest fan, but he continues to kind of do the Bear Bachmeier thing of like whatever's needed of him. Not going out there and necessarily winning you the games by himself, but I think you have to give credit where credit's due. And say, this is a guy whose stats look decent. He's in the 200s of passing every game. He's adding a little bit on the ground as well. Like Connor Weigman has had a good season thus far.
He has, Damon. I like the Connor Weigman Bear Bachmeier comparison because there is a lot of similarities there between just trying to like help be successful within the system, kind of be a system quarterback. I know that oftentimes that is like a derogatory term thrown at quarterbacks, but it can get you paid, right? Working within a system and showing that you can do that and be maximized can get you paid.
We're going to talk about that with one of the other quarterbacks, and I talked about it on our last power rankings with this guy in particular. And again, it's not like a diss. It's just like some of these guys are more system QBs, and that's just kind of who they are. They're not like dynamic type playmakers yet for a Bear Bachmeier yet. You know what I mean? Like, but I do think that, like you got to give credit where credit's due in terms of just like doing their job properly.
I totally agree with you. Getting into my 12 through 9 here, I have Brendan Sorsby staying at 12 for me. I don't think he's done anything that really deserves him getting moved up or down dramatically. Caden Salter, I have him moving up because I had Colorado's quarterback group lower, and so he is kind of the representation of that. Maybe I should have taken a page out of Damon's book and just said non-applicable for the motion there. But yeah, like Damon said, Caden Salter, that should be the starting quarterback for Colorado, in my opinion. I know that they're still continuing to try to figure that out, whatever that means. But you do have to eventually make a decision there. This is kind of what I said earlier in the year of like, it doesn't help Caden Salter. It doesn't help Brian Staub. It doesn't help Juju Lewis even to be looking over their shoulder this deep into the college football season. I think you have to pick a person and go with that person. Show that you have faith in them to lead you to a bowl game and a bowl victory this season. And then Avery Johnson moving down in my list, mostly as a result of other guys like Connor Weigman moving up. Connor Weigman, like Damon said, has been able to help his team become pretty competitive and become a sexy surprise pick to win the conference if that is your kind of a get down and you're not really into picking favorites. Houston and Arizona are the two teams that you're really looking at in terms of can they be the surprise team this year? And I think Connor Weigman is a huge part of that. I think coming into the year, I think this also needs to be taken into account of this too. Coming into the year, you're looking at Connor Weigman like high, elite level recruit, can't stay on the field, hasn't really shown too many flashes. Like, what is he really? And so for him to at least show that he can win you some games and he can help you get to where you want to be as a program, I think that is huge.
Yeah, I think that brings up an interesting discussion for me, Kevin, and I don't want to go off on too big of a tangent here, but, do you think that we're living too much in our own scope of Arizona when we maybe feel that, like, Arizona has a better shot of being the surprise team in the Big 12 than Houston? Or is that like, because it feels like the consensus has kind of been for a while that Houston is kind of that surprise team. I remember reading an Action Network like betting Big 12 preview article that was like, Houston is the long shot team to bet in the conference because of Willie Fritz. I do agree that like I trust Houston's coaching more than Arizona's coaching still. Despite Arizona's coaching staff being much improved, despite the Seth Dagey, Danny Gonzalez additions, I think that, Willie Fritz has proven that he wins effectively at every single level that he, is coaching at. But at the same time, I also believe more in a Noah Fifita than a Connor Weigman. And maybe that's where my reasoning is. I mean, do you think that that's because we're living too much in the Arizona side of things, or like how would you kind of dissect those two teams, Kevin?
It's a cop-out answer, but we're going to find out Saturday night. You know what I mean? Like, or afternoon. We're going to know exactly what Arizona has in terms of being a potential surprise team in the Big 12, right? Like when you're talking about Arizona right now, I think you're at a point where if you are like me, if you are like Damon, if you're like Carl, Deborah, my mother in the chat, like if you are following this team week in, week out, day in, day out, I think you do tend to side with your squad more than maybe the casual fan might, because they're just not in on Noah Fifita. Like the headline to our show today is asking if Noah Fifita is underrated, and it's not. It sounds crazy to us to say, like, is Noah Fifita underrated? It feels like he's either accurately rated or slightly underrated. But I think there's a lot of people nationally, Damon, that look at Noah Fifita and think 2024 and think small quarterback and think he can't get it done. And I think like there is that underlying narrative out there. So
where it's like Connor Weigman, it's like 5-star
Texas A&M
born,
guy. Yeah.
Like dude can sling it, gunslinger.
Yeah.
That type of vibe. Yeah, I feel that.
And so I think like, for the record, when I say Arizona could be that dark horse, I truly mean dark. Like very, very absent of light horse. You know what I mean? Because like
let's be careful. We're towing a fine line.
It's dark like the night. You know, there's no street lights. It's like when SpongeBob and Patrick got stuck in the deep dark part of the ocean and they were scared. Like that is where Arizona's chances are of actually winning the whole conference. If I had to put a percentage on it, we're talking like 7%. You know what I mean? Like I don't like, but if you are gonna pick those really low chance teams to win it, yes, Carl, tan horse. You're talking about like Houston and Arizona. Of those teams with like less than
it's
10.
a very, very, very dark horse.
the darkest horse you ever seen. But yeah, like it's like teams with like 10% or less to win the conference. You're picking Houston, you're picking Arizona. So I don't think we're too in our own ecosystem to be saying that Arizona could be one of those teams, because the chances are already so low that I don't think it's crazy. I think you actually sound like more crazy saying that, like, I don't know, what's a team that people are picking? Like I don't think BYU can win the conference, and they have an incredible defense. But I think that like Bear Bachmeier hasn't been in big moments yet. Like, do you know that you can rely on him to like step into a game like Will Hammond did the other day and just take over for you? I don't think that you can. Right. And maybe I'm wrong on that. Right. Maybe Bear Bachmeier gets in that spot and says, hold my beer. I'm about to go prove to you why I'm, picked as a true freshman to lead BYU. But like, yeah, I don't think it's insane to say that Arizona could shock a lot of people and that they could have a lot more conference wins than people think. I don't think that's crazy at all. I think we're encroaching upon that line that you're inferring to, Damon, of being like, these are just two Arizona homers. But I think we're not quite over that line yet. I think we've seen enough improvement, and I think we've seen improvement in important areas to winning football games that give you confidence. Like Arizona's defense not going anywhere. They might not be like this insane level of statistical prominence and production that we've seen so far once they get into conference play, but that defense is not going anywhere overnight. Yeah. Right? Like the same way you couldn't fix the offense overnight last year, you can't ruin this defense overnight, right? Barring, knocking on wood, barring like, a bunch of health issues, like your defense is going to be fine. Your offense, you have foundations there to build on and be competitive with every team in the conference, maybe outside of Texas Tech, who might just have the best defense in the country. You don't know that yet. You know what I mean? Like, I got Noah Fifita with the game on the line over half of these quarterbacks that we're going to get back into here in a second. So I don't think it's crazy at all, Damon, especially as we get into the second half of this list.
Yeah, for me, like I said, the differentiator is I believe more in Noah Fifita than I do a Connor Weigman. And, I think that the coaching advantage is in Houston's favor, but both teams have good defenses, and give me my quarterback. I'm riding with my quarterback. And with that being said, let's go into my next four here on the list, who I happen to have Noah Fifita going down, Kevin.
By week.
And again, this isn't like this. This is a situation where there was just one big riser and it kind of bumped everybody down, so it just makes it look bad. But really, Fifita was fifth, and now he's sixth. Rocco Becht was fourth, now he's fifth. Devin Dampier did, however, move a big amount of spots down on my list. I think I was, I had Dampier, I think, sixth last week, and I had some people that were not happy with me when we posted it on the internet, Kevin.
I had him fifth, and people were upset with me.
People were, not happy with Kevin and I for being like, you guys got a Heisman candidate as fifth best quarterback in his own conference. He didn't play anybody. And yeah, Devin Dampier looked really, really good. But I think that the concern from my perspective with Devin Dampier always was, can he run the football at like a almost dominant level like he did at New Mexico in a higher conference, in a much more difficult conference? And I think we saw against Texas Tech what that looks like when Utah plays a legitimate defense. Not to say that he's a bad quarterback, not to say that he's not very, very good or that he can't run the football effectively against a good team at all. I just think that it's going to be inconsistent. And I think for that reason, you got to bump him down and say that he's a little bit more of a middle of the pack QB than maybe an upper echelon one in this conference that has so many good QBs, Kevin. I move Sam Leavitt, who's a guy that had NFL and has NFL aspirations. He had a kind of a bad start to the season with the Mississippi State game in particular. Like, I think from mine and Kevin's perspective, like if you lose your team a game and from how we watched it, our viewpoint, Sam Leavitt was the primary reason that Arizona State lost that football game. He had to be bumped down, but he had a really good game against Texas State. He had a really good game last week against Baylor, including, was it 3 straight scoring drives in the fourth quarter for Sam Leavitt in ASU's offense?
Against who?
Baylor. I thought I saw somebody say that.
It would have been field goal to end it.
It was a field goal winning drive. But anyways, I mean, he has to move his way up, I think, after a performance like that. So he bumps his way up. I still have Noah Fifita 1 spot higher, although he is moving down 1 spot for a reason that we will see later. And then Rocco Becht. As we've talked about, Kevin, that was the one that I was going to say, like from a game manager standpoint, I don't think it's any disrespect to a Rocco Becht to say that he's not going to go out there and throw the ball over the yard. He's definitely more of a play within the system type of guy, and that is okay. He leads to winning football games, and he's done so basically every opportunity that he's had at Iowa State. So Rocco Becht rounds out my top 5 QBs there.
Getting into my 8 through 5 quarterbacks, I also have honestly a very similar ranking as to what you have, Damon. Same 4 guys, just in slightly different order. I flipped Noah Fifita and Sam Leavitt. Those are the main 2 differences right there. And I think, like you said with Devin Dampier, like I'm not trying to punish Devin Dampier for having a bad game against maybe the best defense in the country. But I do think where you can penalize Dampier is coming out as hot as he did. I think 7 for his first 7. And then some of the passes he was making were just, you don't have to make there was one in particular where I'm thinking of having a That's So Raven-esque flashback to where he rolls out to the left, looking, not finding. He doesn't have to throw this ball. You can just get rid of it. And he doesn't. He chooses to force it. It's an interception, and it's going Texas Tech's way. And like playing a team like Texas Tech, a defense like Texas Tech, you can't just give away the ball like that. It has to be forced turnovers if there are turnovers at all. You have to make them make you make mistakes. You can't just volunteer your own errors like Devin Dampier was doing out there on Saturday. So for that, he does fall a little precipitously on both of our rankings here, Damon, to number 8. I have Noah Fifita falling, mostly because he played a bye week this past week. It wasn't, much to judge Noah Fifita on, and I think the second half of that K-State game left a lot to be desired. So I think it's fair for him to move down as well. Sam Leavitt moves up, and I think, he's been playing a lot more like Sam Leavitt recently. And by that, I mean, the creativity he's been showing with his legs is really impressive. His ability to extend the play is really impressive. His ability to make guys miss is really impressive. His actual downfield accuracy at times is really good, but it still leaves a lot to be desired. So I think Sam Leavitt, there's still time for him to get to be the quarterback that people thought he could be. Whether or not he ever reaches that, we can argue about that all day, but he does deserve to move up in the power ranking. So I do have him at 6. And also, I wanted to give a shout out because he has I don't know if you noticed this, his connection with Shimon Mateer is pretty good. Like, if you're watching that Baylor game, you're like, I feel like every big down he's looking for Mateer, and every big down Mateer was just there for him. But yeah. And then, like you said, Rocco Becht coming in at 5. Just not like a very special playmaker at the Big 12 level, but a very special game manager. And he might manage Iowa State's games all the way to a Big 12 championship one. So you never know.
To your point, Mateer has 115 yards and 12 catches in the last 2 games here before only totaling 1 catch for 20 yards in the previous 2 games before that. So
as a guy who was on Baylor, I was like, this damn Mateer is killing me, man.
It's been a lot of Jordan Tyson and nobody else this season from a pass catching standpoint. And now it feels like Sam Leavitt's finally found maybe a secondary weapon here. But I got to say, Kevin, it feels like maybe you're bending the knee a little bit.
How so?
Like, maybe you caught some flack from some ASU fans on Twitter, and all of a sudden you're like, I don't know, guys. Sam Levitt, we're gonna put him above Noah Fifita. He didn't have a game.
I know. That's why he moved down. He didn't have a game, and also he moved down in part because of
Fifita also hasn't lost his team a game this season. To my earlier point.
That's fair, but you know what?
So to me, that doesn't just erase everything that's already happened this season. He looks a lot better. That's why he's moving up for me. But I don't know. I feel like you're catering.
I'm really not
to the bad people.
I'm really not catering to the bad people, Damon. He played fine against Baylor. Was a part of the reason why they won that game. In my notes, I still have there's passes that he missed, and he had 2 interceptions that were called back in this game against Baylor, right? So if those go the other way, he probably, in fact, does not go up, but goes down, right? So with Sam Levitt, I'm just keeping it real. His power rankings, he does well, he's going to move up. He does bad, he's going to move down.
Listen, he moved up for me too, Kevin. I'm saying that you moving him above Fifita to me is like...
Fifita didn't play a game this week.
Look, I can be reasonable about ASU too.
He didn't play a game this week, and in the game he did play 2 weeks ago, looked awesome in the first half and not great in the second half. What am I supposed to do with that?
My point is kind of that he didn't play a game.
I get you. But Sam Levitt played a good team on the road and looked fine. He moves up 1 spot, and as soon as Noah Fifita goes out and upsets Iowa State, he'll be rocket ship back up to the top. And you know how that's
I'm just saying that I'm not gonna change week to week. Personally, I know what the power rankings entail and that it's supposed to go based off of the vibes and whatnot. Again, Sam Levitt from an NFL circle standpoint has always been above Noah Fifita. So it's not like that's we're talking about potential or something like that. For me, it's so far this season, I've seen 1 loss from either one of from both of those quarterbacks. They both have 1 loss, and one of them, it was kind of his fault, but that's fine. Again, he's moving up in my rankings. I'm not that was bad timing for Anthony Totri to have walked in on here, because I feel like I've been pretty respectful and fairly high, honestly, on ASU in terms of just what I think is going to play out. And so I'm not trying to be like Sam Levitt sucks, because he played really well 2 weeks in a row. But for me, it's just I'm not ready to move him above Fifita so far this year yet. Moving forward, for my final 4 here, Kevin, I'm going Jalen Daniels just down 1 spot. He was my 3rd because I have to get my boy Will Hammond at the 3rd spot here.
I mean, look at that photo. That's special.
It is special. What I saw from Will Hammond this week was special, Kevin. That guy is unbelievable. I watched a special type of performance on Saturday. Maybe it's that they don't have any game film on him, but I don't know. I'm ready to buy in. I think the eye test said enough for me in terms of man, this kid is really making some unbelievable type of plays out there. Everything he did was magic. Whether he was running the football, whether he was throwing the football, you name it. Everything he did was leading to a first down, essentially. Ever since he got put in the game, Texas Tech completely took over and turned the game on its head. Utah immediately could just not stop anything. And I think, for me, Baron Morton, otherwise known as Mom's Meatloaf. Meatloaf was, consistently not really moving the needle for me. And then he's getting hurt kind of consistently. He got hurt last year. He got hurt again in this game. He threw 2 bad interceptions against Utah. I think that this is kind of the move that maybe Texas Tech needed and the spark that maybe they needed to truly be considered the top dog in the conference, because I think Will Hammond is potentially really that good, Kevin. And then just to round out my top 2, I think that you can't really have any other order here. It's Sawyer Robertson, who maybe unfairly gets moved down because he wasn't even bad against Arizona State, who has one of, if not the best defense in the conference. He threw 3 touchdowns to 1 interception. I think he had over 250 yards. He's still up there with Heisman contenders type of quarterback, although he does have 2 losses, which would severely hurt him in a Heisman race. But Josh Hoover goes in, destroys SMU, stunting on him, doing sellies, emoting. And now it's Friday Night Lights time against Arizona State, and it's time for the top dog in the conference to show why we gave him the number 1 spot this week against one of the top defenses on the road in a primetime game. So that's my Big 12 quarterback power rankings, Kevin.
As we move into my final 4, I have Jalen Daniels moving up into the top 4 after a good W against West Virginia. Handled business at home there. Had a nice little fake option play as well. And then you have the split of Meatloaf Morton and Will Hammond. because I think either way I was probably going to move. I know Morton would not start that game well, but if he did finish it, I could see him moving up because it's such a tough place to play. And then also, Will Hammond, like you said, Damon, that man looked damn good. Like, I mean Sunday good on Saturday, right? Like the ball he was delivering, it was consistent, it was tight spiral, it was to the point, exactly where it needed to be almost every time except for once. And yeah, truly, truly impressive performance. And like you said, in the top two, Josh Hoover and Sawyer Robertson, literally, those are the two guys right now I think you're talking about with who's the best quarterback in the conference conversation. It's those two guys, and then who else? Josh Hoover, very good performance against SMU. The interception that he threw even was still a pretty decently delivered ball. It was like pretty much a 50-50 that the corner made a great play on where he got it at the guy's body and ripped it out from him before they got down to the ground. So it's kind of one of those kind of situations where I'm not really putting too much of the blame on Hoover there. Maybe he could have delivered a slightly better ball, but it wasn't an egregious ball. I actually think Sawyer Robertson's interception, although I believe it was Abney for ASU that made that play, he jumped the hell out of that route. But Robertson still kind of the delivery was a little bit late.
Yeah, he really lofted that ball.
Yeah, it was slow.
The receiver didn't really make a very
passionate effort. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Like he wasn't really trying to box out the cornerback on that play either. So yeah, that was a weird one for sure. And then I think to the Hoover point earlier, they also had a touchdown, I believe, called back, TCU.
They did.
Like a long touchdown pass called back. So that could have made Josh Hoover's already insane stat line look even crazier against a pretty solid SMU team. I know they also have 2 losses this season. But yeah, I mean, I think that's got to be the top 2, no doubt about it, right?
Yeah, and I think honestly, it's got to be. I could see someone putting Becht at 3, and I wouldn't necessarily have the most problem with that. But I think it's got to be some mix of Hoover, Robertson, and if it's not Hammond, then give me like Becht or like something like that. I know that I have Becht at 5, but like I said, it's not for lack of like production. It's not for lack of winning. You know what I mean? So if you really value winning and you really value the ability to manage the game, I could totally see Rocco Becht coming in 3rd at someone's list. But for sure, the top 2 have to be that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to bring on our guy, Justin Spears, hear what Arizona coordinators and players had to say over at the press conferences earlier today, and talk about a little bit about the Iowa State game coming up on Saturday. We'll do all that and more on the other side of this break on the AZ Wildcats pod. Don't go anywhere.
And if you are looking to enjoy a college football Saturday at home, on your own, or with your family, Pure Edibles is the best way to do that. Whether you want to uplift, unwind, or just relax, Pure Edibles has the vibe for you. Now, this is not just your everyday edible company that just is loading up their products with sugars and ingredients you can't pronounce and all that kind of, bad stuff. Pure Edibles is literally a full-fledged candy company that just happens to make our favorite, consumable edibles with CBN, CBG, CBD, and marijuana-derived THC. They're designed to be ripped or bit in half so you can share with your roommates, your friends, your girlfriend, your boyfriend, whatever you got going on in your household. You can share your Pure Edibles, just not with the pets, guys. Don't share your Pure Edibles with the pets. Not very safe for the pets. Who says happy hour has to end? And if you're into IPAs, they have a Noble Tower all-in-one IPA just for you, and that is a IPA infused all-in-one marijuana THC pen, and it is just chef's kiss if you're into IPAs like me and Damon. And if you're in Arizona, in the Freedom State, swing by one of the 130 dispensaries that dispense Pure Edibles products.
Love a good IPA, Kevin, and my favorite place to buy IPAs is in the Beer Cave at Circle K because
Facts.
Honestly, guys, what's better than going home? You talk about watching football with some Pure Edibles. How about just watching football on your couch with a couple beers as well? I mean, guys, let's talk about it. Football is a sport that, it's not always the best to go in person. Sometimes you just want to kick your feet up on the couch, watch it. That's why I like the Circle K Beer Cave, where they have tons of collection of any beer that I could possibly want in my life. Tons of local options as well, Kevin, which is my favorite. They got the craft beer selection over there at Circle K. But there's so much more to Circle K than just, the beer sales and the beer cave and all the great stuff that comes with that. As much as I want to keep talking about it, they, of course, have all their great snack deals. They have Polar Pops because they are, of course, America's thirst stop. They have this great Circle K snacks, Kevin, which are really cheap, and also the quality of them is top notch, name brand, top quality stuff for not that name brand price. And if you're an Inner Circle Rewards member, you get insane deals on gas. Guys, if you sign up now, you get 25 cents off per gallon on your first 5 fill-ups. After that, you'll save 3 cents off per gallon every time you fill up until you hit premium status, where you'll save 5 cents off per gallon like me or Kevin. They also have all types of fuel days that you have to be on the lookout for, where you can save 40 cents off per gallon from like basically the hours of like 6 a.m. to 12 a.m. And they keep it open all day long. So guys, check out all the deals that they have to offer over at Circle K. Join the Inner Circle for free by downloading the Circle K app today. Terms and conditions apply at participating locations. Visit circlek.com for details. I really do love Circle K.
How could you not love Circle K? It's honestly one of the best parts of going down to Tucson, when you get to go right past National Championship Drive and there's that Circle K right there across the street. You get to, if you're coming down from Phoenix, you get to fill up, get your tank all nice and thirst quench at America's Thirst Stop. It's the best.
Kevin, my favorite part, though, about going down to Tucson is seeing my guy Justin Spears, of course, because that he's going to be at any sort of media availability that we're going to. Justin, we saw you at Basketball Media Day. How is it going? How did you think that the entire event went?
Oh man, Media Day was awesome. That was my first time getting a chance to see the new McHale Center floor. So seeing the Cactus logo in person, gosh, it looks sexy. It's such a beautiful court. And then the Arizona that's in the paint as well, kind of like that old like retro font. I just thought that the new court at McHale Center was just chef's kiss. I know you guys were talking about chef's kiss earlier when talking about THC products, but it's just honestly a beautiful court. And I was very impressed by the guys on the team. That was really my first chance at getting to talk to guys like Koa Pete and Mobile Mawoot and all these other newcomers. And I was just so impressed with all these guys. I mean, really, everything that they were talking about, it was just a great conversation with all of them, and they would look you in the eye. They were so respectful, and these were guys that were out there to have fun. They weren't like a bunch of robots. So getting to know these guys, getting to see their personalities a little bit, I thought was incredible. And honestly, my favorite part of the whole evening was, well, first of all, the rain coming down, because Monsoon was like, yeah, you guys are talking smack about us. No, we're going to like bring down the rain all in one day. So it was raining cats and dogs outside, but also like the random yells that you would hear throughout Media Day, because the guys are over in the corner and they're going to mute it, right? But when you're in McHale Center and you're watching a game and you see, I don't know, Bryce James just like, yelling, we're not hearing him yell, but they're like, no, you actually have to yell. And so just randomly, like every 20 or 30 minutes, we would just hear, and there's just some guy over in the corner just screaming. But dude, it was a great event. I loved Arizona Basketball Media Day, and I'm very excited for what should be a very fun basketball season in Tucson.
My favorite part was with the yells, Justin. Some of them were being done by like some of the more shy, you could tell, foreign players that maybe aren't as expressive yet because they've just come over to the United States or whatnot. And the rest of the team would kind of would turn over and start laughing and be super galvanized by it. I thought that was pretty awesome. But
I have one more thing to add. So my producer, or our producer for Spears and Ali, Andrew Trujillo, he was the one who caught this. So Mo Krivas, the big man from Lithuania, very large human being, but he's also a very stoic human being, right? Like, He's awesome. I love Mo. Like, once you get to know him a little bit, he's a really funny guy, and he's got almost like a dry sense of humor. He's an awesome dude, but he's also, in terms of like charisma and personality, he's pretty low on the rankings on Arizona's roster. And there was some guy from the team, and I don't know what his role was, but he was like the Mo Krivas handler, and he comes over and says, Mo. And he prefaces by saying, you're not going to like this, but we need you to go stand with 4 cheerleaders, and we need you to scream at the camera. And Andrew said the look on Mo's face, like Mo just like rolled his eyes and was like, oh, damn it. Okay. And then like took this like slow walk over to the tunnel where the cheerleaders were. Like, you ask anybody else, hey man, you get to hang around a bunch of cheerleaders and, have fun. Everyone's like, yeah, let's do it. And Mo's like, wait, I got to scream. Damn it. In front of them. Damn it. So yeah, it was an awesome day.
For a second there, Kevin, when he was talking about, another thing, Mo Krivas and his stoic personality, I thought he was going to bring up when I lost track of my question on our interview with Mo Krivas. Justin, I just blanked talking to Mo Krivas on a question, pretty much because he was throwing me off so much with just his very, very like stoic, just like, yes, for sure. And like that, like just not expanding on answers at all. And I was like, just completely out of whack. It was pretty funny.
Yeah, no, and he was definitely, one interview I knew because he's Lithuanian, very stoic. Azulis Tubelis was kind of like that a little bit, where like very stoic, men a few words, but that dry sense of humor, like they're so funny. Like Azulis Tubelis, especially in his last year at Arizona, like you could kind of see more of the comedian side coming out of him, but it was so dry. And Mo Krivas is kind of in that same category where you gotta butter him up, man. You gotta get him going, and then like talk to him about like his favorite restaurants and stuff like that. Like he was like, in my best Lithuanian accent, he was like, "Oh, Longhorn Steakhouse, good steak, good steak," in the most like Lithuanian stoic accent, man. But it was so funny. So yeah, he's awesome, man. I think he's gonna have a big year this year. I think that healthy, if he can stay healthy, and even last year, earlier in the year, he was playing kind of hobbled. I mean, in that Duke game, the first one at McHale, like he was not 100%. He was still dealing with some injuries. So now that he's had the whole offseason to get healthy, and then you pair that up with Koa Pete, Toby Awaka, the length of the other guys that they brought in, like Mobile Mawut, like I was impressed by his length. So I think that the front court pieces that they have, these are going to be some big time players for Arizona. And I think Mo Krivas, don't sleep on him. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Henry Vasar in a way, where Henry Vasar came in as this highly touted European prospect, got injured, didn't live up to the hype and the expectations. And then year 3, what happened with Henry Vasar? It came at the expense of Mo Krivas going down with that injury, but Henry Vasar stepped up. Now that Mo Krivas is kind of like, all right, I'm the guy, I'm healthy. All right, here we go. Year 3, I think you're going to see Big Mo take that big step forward.
And also, I know that I just wanted to mention this real quick. You did mention that players had to scream for those little like video vignettes they're doing. Only player to not scream, Anthony D'Alorso. Fact.
Really?
Yeah,
he's a real life screamer too. I mean, that dude's gonna scream like at McHale. Everybody in the building's gonna have their ears shot.
Yeah, he didn't scream. He just didn't scream for his only guy. But Justin, before we get into like Arizona football, Big 12 football, I have one more Arizona Media Day note for you.
Oh no.
You and I shot free throws on the McHale floor. Bucket list check, right? One of the few people, you and I, to have made free throws on the new Cactus Court as well.
Wow.
Yep.
What do we think about your form here, Justin, as we pull up the clip of you shooting?
So this has always been my form ever since I was a little kid.
Yes.
I promise you, I'm shooting it with one hand, but it looks like I'm like kind of like chest passing it at the top of my head.
I mean, if it goes in, it goes in, right?
But it's kind of like a Sean Marion form. It's very funky, but you know what? Hey man, I'm gonna shoot.
I like that
shot.
soft roll. I like that soft roll from you, Justin. I mean, listen, like that showed me a little bit of shooting touch. It almost landed on the rim and caressed itself into the net.
Hey, listen, I was a basketball player back in the day, and I had the funkiest form ever, but I was a bucket, and the only person that can vouch for me is my older brother. And I love basketball. Honestly, I grew into a football player's body, and I was decent at football, so I kind of took more of that path. But man, I'm a hooper at heart, man. I loved playing basketball growing up. And growing up here in Tucson, following the Arizona Wildcats, like I was the guy that was like, all right, man, look at Salim Stoudemire going for 25. All right, I'm going to go in the driveway and put up a bunch of 3-pointers. And so I don't know, man. I had a passion for basketball, and for some reason, this funky ass shot of mine, it's got me some buckets. So
we need a U of A media basketball go around, like a tournament type of vibe. That would be so fun. Just
threes
Spears
tournament?
out there just cooking people. I mean, I need it.
Spears, Ali, and Trujillo as their trio. You, me, and Erica as our trio. We could also get Cohen off the bench.
I'm sorry, Erica, but I apologize, but I'm taking Saul Bookman as my 3 in this scenario. I need a big man down low.
Well, no, and Saul's also a bucket too. And
Saul is a bucket.
The state record for consecutive free throws made.
Yeah,
so
Saul's a college basketball player, right?
Yeah,
like he played
100%.
JUCO ball.
So like it's like riding a bike for Saul. Like, okay, like our conditioning at this part of our lives may not be as what it used to be, but Saul still has the freaking shot down, man. So yeah, Saul, you got to take Saul 100%.
Yeah, for sure. I think Saul's our 3 there. Honestly, Kevin, I might kick you to the side and take Eric. It might be me, Erica, and Saul.
I'm cool.
3.
I'll ref. I don't care.
You might be coach out there with the clip.
I'll broadcast the game. That's what I'll do.
No, but that would be fun. That would be an absolutely electric time. But we do have to get into some football stuff. But first, Kevin, why don't we hit our last break here on the AZ Wildcats pod? We'll bring Justin back on, and we will get into Big 12 this weekend, what we saw from it in Arizona versus Iowa State. All that and more, other side of this break.
And it is break time. And I got to talk to you folks about our good friends over at Branded Bills, because there is no more comfortable headwear in the entire game. And I think that if you're talking about specifically Arizona Wildcats headgear, like specifically U of A college headgear, they kill it over at Branded Bills. You go down to the U of A school store, they have their own Branded Bills section at the school store with the cleanest headwear for you, whether you need truckers, beanies, fitteds, tees even. If you have your own brand, Branded Bills can help you elevate your brand with Branded Bills and their custom headwear and apparel. So make sure to go over to brandedbills.com and use code BBPHNX for 15% off your first order.
Absolutely. Make sure that you guys go do that. And then also check out our fine partners over at Gila River Resorts and Casinos, where they have 4 Valley locations, whether it's Wild Horse Pass, Lone Butte, V-Kiva, or Santan Mountain. There's something for everybody in the Valley, and there's something for everybody to do at a Gila River Resort and Casino, Kevin, whether it's go to a concert or a comedy show, whether it's hang out at the pool area with the cabanas, whether it's go to a nice steak dinner. You can do anything at a Gila River Resort and Casino, just like you're in Vegas, just like you're going to maybe some of the more famous casinos, but this one's right in your backyard. And of course, you can take a staycation there with just the drop of a bucket. There's no resort fees for Arizona residents as well, another great perk that they offer. And of course, we all know about their 4,500 slots and live table games. Kevin, I know you're a big fan of the largest sports book in the state of Arizona, the BetMGM Sportsbook. We, of course, have our PHNX Cardinals watch parties for all away games over there at the Upper Deck Kitchen and Bar. Guys, we love Gila River Resorts and Casinos so much. I'm a Wild Horse Pass man. Kevin is now living out there by V-Kiva, and he's still yet to check it out, but we are on the edge of our seat waiting for his review of the V-Kiva location. You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playathgila.com for more details.
What are we munching on behind the scenes, Justin?
This is damn it, I didn't think anybody could see me. So these are egg frittatas from Costco. So I heated up 2, and I got them all nice and hot. And so I just put down 1, and now here's my second one. In about 10 minutes, I'm going to munch on this. But I was like, ooh, you know what? I'm starving, Marvin. Let me put down 1 while these guys read some ads. But, yeah, these frittatas at Costco, I'm not trying to make this like a Costco endorsement or anything but like that. But I just love it, man. Costco's great. They bring the boom.
Couple of booms, get third
That's what they
boom
do, baby.
right there. And for the record, no one could see you eating your frittata, but I could see you eating your frittata. And so I was like, what is he snacking on? I know he has a good nose for what the good food is at. So I wanted to see what you're eating. As I am also starving like Marvin, as you said. But it's been a bye week, Justin. So we are all not only starving for food, but for football as well, right? And Arizona has a big game coming up against Iowa State on the road in Ames. And we wanted to kind of get into that, but start it more big picture, because the Big 12 through the bye week, they were still playing games. And some of those games were awfully consequential. So I kind of wanted to pick your brain on Texas Tech's domination of Utah and kind of what you took away from that matchup.
Man. That was a clash of titans. And to me, that game, I was like, all right, winner of that that really sets the standard for the rest of the season. Like that team will be the winner. And listen, I thought that, Texas Tech could very well go in there and win that game. I didn't think they were going to do it like that. And then also to lose your starting quarterback and then you throw in a freshman who, looks just as good, maybe a little bit better than their previous guy. Like, Will Hammond, right? The freshman quarterback who came in, that guy was awesome in that game. So, and then I think really the most important part of Texas Tech's win over Utah was, I mentioned the clash of Titans. Well, this was a clash of Texas Tech's defensive line, which they went out and built in the offseason, right? They put their monies where their mouth is, and they got guys like David Bailey, I think it was, the transfer from Stanford. Right? Yeah, big-time prospect. Lee Hunter, the defensive tackle transfer from UCF, who's a all Big 12 caliber guy. Like, they went out and put the chips on the table, spent a lot of money, and got guys on the defensive line, which is going to help you win some ball games. And how they dominated against Utah's offensive line, which I think is the best O-line in college football, how that Texas Tech defensive front looked against those guys, they caught my attention. Going into Rice-Eccles and just handing it to Utah, which is a really good team this year. I always do a weekly Big 12 poll or like a power rankings with the Houston Chronicle. It's part of our collaboration. And I put Texas Tech as the number 1 team in the Big 12. And before, they were always like 2 or 3. I always had Iowa State there at that number 1 team. But Texas Tech, you guys have my attention. I always thought that they were going to be a dark horse going into this year because of it's the last year of NIL, and Cody Campbell, their billionaire booster, put a bunch of money into that football program, and it's literally paying off.
Yeah, you mentioned that you almost thought that the game of, Tech versus Utah was kind of going to almost lead to giving you like a front runner in the conference. Did you in any way come out of it thinking to yourself like less of Utah than you did going into it, or was it solely just positives taken away from the Tech side of things? Because I think from my end personally, I come away from it thinking to myself, like, can Devin Dampier get the job done against, that upper echelon competition in the Big 12? Because he really looked kind of out of his depth.
Yeah, no doubt. And I think, every dog has his day. He chose the worst time to have a bad day against a really good Texas Tech football team. So, I still think that Utah can still have the season that we all think that they can have because, there's a good chance Utah wins out the rest of the way. And now we're talking about a 1-loss Utah team going up against a Texas Tech team, which could really hurt the Big 12 because, you kind of fall into a situation like last year where it's like, all right, winner of the Big 12 championship goes to the CFP, loser goes to the Pop-Tarts Bowl or whatever it is, because if Utah has 2 losses, let's say they lose to Texas Tech again, then will the CFP committee put Utah in that conversation? I don't know, but I think that Utah, if they can win out this season, then they will be in that Big 12 championship game, and they'll get their chance at a rematch with Texas Tech, which will be at Jerry's World, right? It's going to be in Dallas, so it's going to be majority Texas Tech people if that were to happen. You're not at Rice-Eccles Stadium, but Kyle Whittingham is a great coach, and I think that Devin Dampier is a damn good quarterback, and I think behind that offensive line, he can make some things happen. So I'm confident in those guys, and I think that Utah will bounce back.
And then, I know you have a deadline to hit because Justin Big J Spears, it is never not working. So let's get to Arizona versus Iowa State. This is why the people are here to talk football today. Arizona coming off the bye week in Ames. One of the biggest questions is that offensive line coming into this game, Justin. You've seen a lot of improvements from Arizona's offensive line and Josh Oglesby. You've also seen some pretty crippling penalties and some untimely errors from that offensive line. What do you kind of make of that performance we've seen from them this week, and how are you thinking of them going into the Iowa State matchup?
You mean diehard NASCAR fan Josh Oglesby, who was just so jealous of Brent Brennan? Like, Josh Oglesby seriously is a NASCAR nut. He loves NASCAR. Also a big UFC guy as well. I love Josh Oglesby. He's a solid human being, and I heard he makes a really good carne asada queso dip, which sounds just out of this world.
Kevin has just found a new favorite position coach on the Arizona Wildcats football roster because if anyone knows my guy Kevin, they know that he is Mr. MMA over here. So
I wish you would divulge this some point during the offseason, because I would have spent all the time at media day talking to Josh Oglesby about.
So Josh Oglesby, what do you think about the flyweight division?
So Charles Oliveira
right now, right?
No, he will give it. He will talk to you about all of that stuff. Like, I'm like a casual UFC fan. Like, I'm not following every single fight card every week, but the major fights and stuff like that. So I'll talk to Josh Oglesby about the big fights, and then he'll randomly like, hey, what do you think about the fight this weekend? I'm like, I don't even know who's fighting, to be honest with you. And he's all about UFC and MMA. So he's one of the most fascinating human beings you will ever talk to. And he's also like a mountain of a person. He's like 6'8", 6'9", like just huge person. Like, he makes all of Arizona's offensive linemen look small. That's how, ginormous he is. But, and I think that the new offense with Seth Dagey, I think that, there are some differences with the blocking, but it's also been really helpful with running the football. And Arizona last year was not a good rushing football team. I mean, they ranked near the bottom in the Big 12. And if you look at running the football on the road, Arizona did not do well in that department. I mean, I go back to that UCF game a year ago where they only had 5 net rushing yards, which is just absolutely atrocious. That is not a good day running the football. And so I think, building off of this Kansas State performance where you had Ismail Mahdi get going with 189 yards, with Quincy Craig setting the tone in the season opener against Hawaii. And Kedrick Reesano, as we all know, is the most experienced of those guys in Arizona's system or under that coaching staff. So I think, if Kedrick Reesano, if he gets healthy and he's able to go this game, we'll see. When that injury report or that availability report comes out on Wednesday, which is the first one for Arizona this year, I fully expect Kedrick to be on that list. So we'll see what his status is. But Ismail Mahdi and Quincy Craig, I thought, have set the tone this season, and the run blocking has been exceptional. Ismail Mahdi had a big 60-yard run against Kansas State, and a big part of that was because of big Chuba Ma'ai and that left side carving out a lane for him. So run blocking, I think, has been solid for Arizona. And the rushing attack, I think, the Weber State game, it could have been better, but I think it's significantly better than it was last year. As far as, the other things with the O-line, I think that, they might have worked out the kinks. Like, we saw like a false start penalty from Ty Buchanan earlier in the year, and there were just some bad penalties and a lot of holding as well. And Rhino Tapatotai is the biggest one of them all. He had 4 holding penalties in the last 2 games of the season, or the last 2 games that he played. And you can't have that as your starting right tackle because, those were holding penalties that nullified rushing touchdowns. So you're killing yourselves when you're getting those holding penalties because you're stopping drives and then you're resulting in field goals. And when you're stopping, your offense from scoring touchdowns, and that's another thing, is that a lot of these holding penalties are coming so late in drives. And so that just kills your momentum. You can't have that against a team like Iowa State on the road. And, the one thing about Iowa State is that, they kind of remind me a little bit of like the San Antonio Spurs of college football. Like, they're not flashy. Yeah. Nothing they do is flashy. I mean, nothing is sexy. I mean, they have really good defensive backs. I think Marcus Neal and Jeremiah Cooper, who's the younger brother of Tristan Cooper, the former Arizona safety who played under Rich Rodriguez and Kevin Sumlin. Those guys are ball hawks, and they will make you pay if you're going to make some mistakes on offense. But, outside of the secondary, they use tight ends a lot. 3 out of their top 5 pass catchers and receivers are tight ends this year. But their offense is very middle of the road in the Big 12. It's in the defense, it's also middle of the road as well outside of the DBs. So nothing they do is like it jumps out at you, but they also are a really good team on 3rd and 4th down. They convert a lot of those plays on offense. They're also a team that doesn't make a lot of mistakes. So at home, it's going to be a really tough game for Arizona playing in Ames. And I think that the offensive line, you can't have those holding penalties. You have to play 10 points better whenever you play on the road. And I think that this week, in the last couple weeks during the bye week, I think they've done a really good job of focusing on their hand work, their hand placement, and also tightening up their feet inside as well, which is what Chuba Mai referenced earlier in his press conference.
We're going to round this discussion out in overtime here, Kevin, if we wouldn't mind going into that for a second, and then we will get our guy Justin Spears out of here with plenty of time to spare. Totally professional and not awkward.
Dude,
transition.
That's
there.
Exactly how that was supposed to go.
Totally. Justin, we have seen a little bit of inconsistency, I think, from this wide receiver core, whether that be from just a game planning perspective of like not needing to necessarily push the ball that much downfield, or, you know, a little bit of inconsistencies just in terms of level of play. Like you had Nunu Watley have that big game against Weber State, then kind of have a step back performance against a Kansas State, for example. We haven't seen Chris Hunter, Chris Hudson, Trey Spivey, you know, kind of the three guys we talked about in the offseason that we thought could have a chance to maybe lead this team in receiving yards, really have a big game yet. What have you seen thus far from the receivers, and kind of what should we expect in this Iowa State game?
Well, the leader in interceptions this year is a wide receiver as well, Javon Watley. Noah Fifita hasn't thrown an interception this year. The only person to throw an interception is Javon Watley. And honestly, I like the creativity of that play because a lot of people don't know this, but Javon Watley played quarterback in high school. When he was being recruited out of college to go play college football, initially he was a quarterback, but made a bad play. Also, you got to give credit to Kansas State for providing some smothering defense and making that play. But I think that the wide receiver group is just incomplete. Like we haven't seen them all really play at once. And so I think that Trey Spivey, the last couple of games, I think that he's been impressive. He's made some nice grabs, some tough grabs too, like that catch against Kansas State where he just got obliterated. To still hold on to the football, like that's what you want to see out of your big-bodied and tough wide receiver. And then Chris Hudson, you know, we've seen flashes of him, but he's overcoming an injury. So, you know, we still need to see him back at 100%. And he was really good in training camp, maybe one of Arizona's top playmakers at that wide receiver spot. And then Javon Watley, you know, I know I just gave him guff recently, but, you know, he leads the team in receiving yards, receptions, receiving touchdowns. I mean, he is everything that you want out of one of those top playmaking wide receivers. Also really fast and can take the top off the defense. So I just think that it's incomplete. I do like what I see out of Brandon Phelps. I thought he has stepped up after having a quiet training camp. Like he had a great spring, and then his training camp was kind of mild, and then all of a sudden he's made some plays early on this season. So, yeah, I think that the receiver group moving forward, it should be really interesting to see kind of how that sorts itself out. But yeah, I would say probably incomplete is the best way to describe this receiver room.
Well, Justin, we appreciate you. I know you do have to get out of here quite promptly today. We appreciate all your insight and expertise on the Arizona Wildcats football program. You can find him at Justin E Sports on the Bird app, on X, whatever you want to call it, the artist formerly known as Twitter. You can also find him on Tucson.com, writing, I don't even know how many articles per week, but they're expertly done every time. It is the best way outside of this podcast on the written side to stay locked in with the Arizona Wildcats. So we appreciate you for popping on today, Justin, and we'll see you later this week.
Yes, sir. Absolutely. Hey, so trivia, guys, real quick. So Matt Campbell, the head coach of Iowa State, he started his head coaching career in 2012 at Toledo. Do you know what his first game was?
Oh, you know what? I saw you do. I don't want to jinx it. So I saw
Arizona, Tucson, overtime. Rich Rodriguez's first win as head coach of the Wildcats, and now Matt Campbell gets another crack at the Cats. Anyways, some fun trivia for you guys.
Was that BJ Danker playing QB?
No, that was a Matt Scott year.
Oh wow!
Yeah, that was Matt Scott.
What? Honestly, I think I just assumed BJ Danker because that Matt Scott year, I would have thought we would have put up more than 24 in an OT game against Toledo because we were actually pretty good offensively, especially for the early portion of that season. But that is a good little fun trivia fact for you there from our guy Justin Spears.
It was capped by the New Mexico Bowl, man. Great season. Memorable year for Arizona football.
We will bring on Justin later in the week to get his official predictions to Iowa State and Arizona. We'll see you later on, Justin.
See you guys.
Kevin, it has been another fine episode of the AZ Wildcats program. I do have some stuff in terms of blueprint of beating Iowa State and how you can, do so, because they are, as Justin was alluding to, a team that very much does not shoot themselves in the foot. They don't beat themselves, but I think that maybe we could hold on to that for Thursday. We'll talk a little bit more about, kind of the game plan to beating Iowa State and get our official predictions from our guy, Justin Spears, like we talked about. Later on in the week, we'll, of course, do our Friday betting preview going into the college football week, where, of course, between, I think, 4 weeks now, so that's 4 times 2, that's 8 total that we've put together, Kevin. We have given you 7 winning slates out of those 8 between the two of us.
We're not going to talk about
Kevin's was the loss. Kevin, I'm 4 for 4.
Bad audio. I don't know. Damon's mic is
Kevin's
glitching,
3 for
guys.
4. Kevin's 3 for 4. Which, by the way, you do have the power to mute me moving forward. So
I realized that as I said your mic was glitching, but that would have felt like censorship. I didn't want to censor my guy Damon. I didn't want to do that.
But we're 7 for 8 as a podcast. All we do is like to make you guys some money. So we're going to do that on Friday. And then, of course, on Saturday, it's going to be all capped off by a kickoff, preview, pregame show 30 minutes prior to kickoff, which, of course, I believe is going to be 3:30 p.m.
Sounds about right.
On Friday or on Saturday, this Saturday. And then we'll, of course, give you our postgame show as always. As, you guys are so accustomed to being in there for. But, mute me and kick me off like around the horn.
R.I.P. around the horn,
That was Kevin's dream, man. And they just took it and they ripped it from my guy, Kevin. Your whole life, Kevin, you had around the horn right in front of your face. I'm going to be on this show one day. And then they canceled it right when you got in the business. That feels a little personal.
Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. If it was gonna kick the can this early, maybe I didn't want to get on it later. You know what I mean?
You would have kicked ass on that show, brother.
Hey, man.
In my personal record book, you won. Because honestly, that is kind of how the show went. Tony Reale just got to pick whoever he thought was making
right up my alley.
That day.
That's right up my alley. I mean, you see the power rankings.
I'll tell you the reason I never liked Around the Horn. It's because that arbitration system just seems so just ridiculous.
If I was I will say hosting the show must have been a blast. If I was competing on the show,
I'd be like,
as a competitive person,
point there. My point was better than what his point was.
As a competitor,
Tony.
as a competitive person, that would have been brutal. To know you made a great point, and then Tony Reale's just like, nah, Bill, he had a funnier point. Point to Bill. You're like, point to Bill? Shout out to Ja'Cory Crossing Merritt, by the way. But point to Bill? Yeah. That's unbelievable. And shout out to Around the Horn.
Woody Page didn't even say anything.
Just because his whiteboard is funny. That means I get it. But yeah, it's been another good show. Thank you guys for tapping in and showing some love. If you want to show some extra love, you're at the end of the show, which means you must like this podcast. So if you want to leave a like on the video, please feel free to do that. And if you want to go the extra mile and get a free super chat, become an MVP in our chat with just $4.99 a month. You get all types of benefits like the emojis in the chat. You see the Wildcat hand signal right there in the bottom right on the screen. You also have the bear down emote.
Hold the line.
Hold the line. The bear down emote's not on the graphic, by the way, because it's new. And it's new because we had so many new supporters join during the show that they realized we had way more Wildcat fans that are super passionate right now than we ever have before. So please tap in with our supporters club and show a little bit of extra love.
And we have to, of course, fight against Bees and his incessant forks up emojis that he pops in the chat.
He even throws the bear down emojis in there, but he does one of these, one of those. It's just
nasty.
Psychological warfare from the ASU chat. You gonna let him come into our chat and do that, guys?
Yeah, come on, guys.
You gotta be like Max. You gotta push back.
Max, AZ Cats G. We of course have some of the fine June, of course.
Deborah Owens pulling double duty in the Mercury
Kevin,
and Wildcat chat. Myself,
Kevin,
I put my money where my mouth is. Chat.
Yeah.
You hear me push the supporters club every day on this show. It's because I am a part of it and I feel really cool that I'm gonna do it right now. I'm gonna throw some W's in the chat right now because I can, because I'm in the supporters club and because you're watching the AZ Wildcats podcast. He is Damon Dog. You can find him on Twitter at Damon DAWG. I'm doing the outro today. You can find me at KevoPost KEVOPOSTS. We are the PHNX Wildcats _ Wildcats Twitter account for the AZ Wildcats podcast, and on TikTok we're AZ Wildcats Pod. Simple as that. Follow us on all our platforms. Tap in with us for our power rankings weekly, quarterback power rankings today and 2 weeks from now. And we'll see you tomorrow. It's been the AZ Wildcats podcast. Bear down? I guess I say it.
Peace out. Bear down.
And go Cats. See you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.